Please be seated. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Bill, this is going to be a rowdy show, I can tell you already. Good afternoon, and it's going to be a great afternoon. My name is Ira Schwartz. It is my privilege to welcome you all, visitors, faculty, staff, and students, to Emory University. Welcome you to Emory School of Medicine, and this, the white coat ceremony for the Emory School of Medicine class of 2028. Absolutely. On behalf of my colleagues and our new students, for all you visitors, I can welcome you to a mild fall afternoon here in the Deep South. You may not know it, but we have weathered a steamy summer down here. Of course, every place in the Northern Hemisphere had a steamy summer this year, and we managed to avoid the worst of the rains. But we want to thank Bill Eley, who has friends in high places, specifically the Weather Channel, which is it's a local company, for putting in the fix, Bill. A meteorologically perfect afternoon for everybody. Thank you. I must also say good morning and good evening to our TV audience. This ceremony is being webcast, live feed on the web, so that people in any time zone on planet Earth can and will be seeing this. So to our many family and friends and alumni who were not able to make it physically here to the Emory campus in Atlanta, we say hi. They're saying hi, if you can't hear. And welcome, and we're glad you're tuning in. A special hello and welcome to two important friends of ours, Dr. Stephen Brandt and Dr. Jennifer Brandt, close colleagues of small group advisors and faculty. They are literally stuck at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland today. They would have liked to be here, but Stephen and Jennifer, we're glad you're with us, if not in person, at least virtually. We have a terrific afternoon planned for you. A few brief announcements before we begin. First of all, now is the time, as our colleagues in the aviation industry say, to make sure all your electronic devices are firmly in the off position. We thank you. We anticipate that we will be sitting here for about 1.5 hours. It depends on how fast we can make this happen. If you need the facilities, the restrooms are on the lower level, actually right below this stage, and can be accessed down a short flight of stairs to your right and your left. Be careful going down those stairs. Following this ceremony, we very warmly invite everyone to return to our School of Medicine for it's called a festive reception. We will serve light refreshments, not dinner, light refreshments, but they'll be free. Back in our School of Medicine, there'll be plenty of photo opportunities. There'll be a chance to not only make nice to your new first-year medical student, but also to meet friends, faculty, staff, see the facilities. We have a beautiful School of Medicine building that was built specifically for medical education, and we hope you will admire it and see where our first-year students have spent much of the time of these first few months of their medical education. The School of Medicine is in that direction. It's about a 7 or 8 minute walk through our beautiful wooded campus. It's a pretty quiet campus this afternoon, and you will agree that it's an attractive place to stroll. For those of you who may need some transportation assistance, the wonderful Cheryl Cottle, one of our staff members, has arranged a shuttle bus that will be leaving directly after the event through those doors, and she and her team can help you. Finally, I am told that the class of 2028 would like to take a group photograph today. And so we have hired a professional photographer who will meet them immediately at the end of this event, and they will set themselves up on the stairs in the front of this building. What it means is that at the end, they will be asked to stand and recess before the rest of us. Disappointingly, we are not invited to participate in that class photo. So we ask you now to stay back, let them do this photo. The class leadership has assured me they can do this with alacrity. That's a fancy word for right quick. And then all of us will walk carefully back to the School of Medicine for the festive reception. We thank you. And now it is my privilege and great pleasure to introduce my very close friend and long-term colleague, Dr. Bill Eley. A few words of biography. Dr. Eley's title is Executive Associate Dean of Medical Education and Student Affairs at Emory School of Medicine, a mouthful which simply means he's responsible for the curriculum, for the shape of medical education, to make sure that all of our students, medical and otherwise, acquire the correct knowledge, skills, and attitudes to be a modern clinician. It's a daunting job, and Bill Eley is uniquely qualified for this. I will disclose that he grew up not so far away from the Emory campus, and when it came time for college, he was persuaded to come here as an undergraduate, where he excelled both academically and as an all-American scholar, all-American athlete, I should say. He was a scholar athlete. And then when it came time for him to decide to be a doctor, he was again persuaded to stay here in Atlanta and is a distinguished alumnus of our medical school. He decided that becoming an internist was the right journey for him, and it was during his time as a trainee in internal medicine where he discovered his true life's calling, which is to take care of people with cancer. He did a fellowship in medical oncology. Along the way, he got a master's of public health, and he very quickly became one of this country's experts in breast cancer, having people come from near and far to visit him, publishing the epidemiology of breast cancer and the sociology of it. He wrote a textbook on epidemiology, actually, all the while practicing at Grady Memorial Hospital, which you have and will hear more about. Bill has won every teaching award that this medical school can award because he's a nationally known educator. Bill is deeply respected by his peers. He is admired by his students, and he is truly beloved by his patients and their families. Dr. Eley, the podium's yours.
Thank you, Ira. I hope you're around for my funeral. That was quite a... I have a good friend in North Carolina that says, Bill, whatever you do, don't live longer than people who can be your pallbearers. So there's a time for us to go, but today's not it. Today's a day of celebration. But thank you. Although, it was a great eulogy. Welcome to every one of you here and every one of you who are online. And I will say it is indeed a privilege to be up here with this group of students, of Emory medical students, this group of faculty, and everyone else in the room and online. This is truly a day of celebration. Students of class of 2028, we've told you this, but we are so glad you chose to come to Emory Medical School. I want to give a special welcome to members of our alumni board, and instead of calling all your names, I would like all members of our alumni board or former members of our alumni board to please stand and be recognized. And I'd like to say it says something about our Emory family that these folks are taking their Saturday to be here with all of us on this important day. They do a lot for our students. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but thank you. I'm going to start today with the way we started orientation. I've been lucky enough to be around our Emory Tibet initiative and have gotten to be a teacher of compassion meditation. And we started meditation with just a few minutes of slowing down. You're going to hear that a lot during this talk. It is important that we slow down. So if I would, this is a completely secular moment. I'd like for all of us to get comfortable in our chairs and close our eyes or keep them almost closed. And together, I want us just to be in this space together. I want us to take some breaths and think about the nourishing air that goes into our body with every breath. And let's take an opportunity when we exhale to think about letting some of our troubles go so that we can be fully present here today for the class of 2028. I'd like all of you to think about somebody in your life who helped you, either when you were having a hard time, or they stuck with you as a teacher or coach, or they were your parent, or they were your brother or sister or partner or friend. And I just want you to recall what it felt like to be helped. And I imagine that may well have been some very warm feelings for people in your life. We talked about this with the class of 2028. And I want you now, let's collectively think about how much kindness and compassion and cure are these 150 students going to do over the next 50 years. Think about how we all have the opportunity to help others and what that feels like when we help a fellow human. And now as we end this brief moment of quiet, let's dedicate this next hour and a half or so to the class of 2028 as they take this symbolic step to caring for others. Thank you. As I've said, we and the faculty and the staff and the Alumni Association are overjoyed to be here today to celebrate this ceremonial next step for you, the class of 2028. And spoiler alert, it's not really going to be the class of 2028. It's going to be the class of 2028, 29, 30, 31. There are MD, PhD students in here. They're going to be here for 8 years. So it's a little bit of a false advertising to say just 2028. Over a third of the class will get an extra degree while they're here, and so it'll be 29, 30, you got my picture. And to your families, if that's a shock, I'm sorry. But many of them want to do more. It's a characteristic of this class. Another thing, this is the largest class Emory Medical School has ever welcomed. We were faced with too many people wanting to come to our medical school, a terrible thing. I'm kidding, but we miscalculated, and more people wanted to come to Emory than the other schools that have not closed. They were open, and they had opportunities. I can only tell you, we are certainly ready to take care of them, and again, we are grateful that we have the largest class of students that we've ever had, and they are already doing great things. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes orienting the class, not the class, the people here, to what these students have been doing. You all know about orientation now. The medical term for orientation is different than the English term for orientation. It's about person, place, and time. And so I'm going to spend the next few minutes orienting the families and those online to what our students have been experiencing at a macro level. After that, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges they may have, and then talk about how we may collectively help them over the next 4 to 5 to 8 years. There are 150 students here, and 92 of them are women. That is a trend in American medicine, and it's welcome for all these wonderful people who want to help others. Their age ranged from 21 to 34, with a mean of 24. 86% of them spent time between college and medical school. And that's very different than when most of us went to medical school. Most of us went to college and then we went to medical school. That is not the norm anymore. They're an international group. 9 of them are citizens of countries other than the US, and you can read those. 24 of them were born outside of the United States. And I give that to you because this is like walking into an international festival. We can learn so much from each other as we go through being a doctor. They all have the opportunity to learn from each other while they're in school, and therefore can do much better job taking care of a very diverse population in the United States of America and around the world. Many of them came from Georgia, 56, the largest state, but they're from all over the United States. We do not have Hawaii or Alaska represented today. We often do. But you can see it's from California to Texas, across the South to Florida and South Carolina and North Carolina and Tennessee and Alabama, all the way up the East Coast to Maine, all the way across the middle of the country to Illinois and Ohio. We are, again, a diverse group of people from many different places, and it's wonderful. They come from 64 undergraduate institutions: Emory, Georgia Tech, UGA, Georgia State are all local places. But look at the places where they're from. They're from small schools and large schools, private schools and public schools, including Ursinus, very small school, small, wonderful school. But like I said, when you talk about diversity, this is a diverse group of people for many, many reasons. Look at their majors. So the top 2 majors, and this has become perennially the top 2 majors, biology and neuroscience. And I think about that, we were just talking. We need people in the sciences in medical school, but if you look down the list, you see people in other fields, and we need all of them in medical school. We have engineers, we have people in psychology, we have people in French, 4 French majors. I don't know where that happened, but that's great. 2 anthropology students, exercise science, music, philosophy, ancient Mediterranean studies, chemical engineers, classics, computer science, religion, and Spanish. So just a few. Again, incredibly and wonderfully diverse. And finally, 26 of them already have a postgraduate degree. 6 have an MPH, Masters of Fine Arts, Masters of Theology, 16 masters in disaster management, engineering, global epi, bioinformatics, computational science, and 11 students are here for the long term with the MD PhD program. Bless you, bless every one of you. And 13 have signed up for the MD MPH. So now you're getting a hint. And just to let the families know, there will be people who are added to that list as we go along. Some other one of these people are thinking right now, that'd be a cool thing to do. And I'm sorry, I apologize in advance, but they're going to do it. So remember. All right. The most important attributes of these 150 people are not numbers, but the attributes that they bring are essential to becoming healers and include things like experience, their intent, their curiosity, their kindness, their diligence, their compassion, their dedication, and their integrity. Our students bring these experiences from all sorts of families as represented in this room and online. And the students and those families represent cultures and practices and understandings of life from all over the world. Our students have already started putting their hearts and souls into volunteer work, lab work, creative work, and their academic work. And I describe them at orientation as the most altruistic group of people who will ever be assembled in one classroom. We believe every one of them has these traits that are necessary to become caring, competent physicians. Now that's who they are. What have they been up to? They began with a week-long orientation that included Person, Place, and Time by Dr. Schwartz, and then a talk on why. I shared Martin Luther King's quote to the class. His quote is, "The most important question we have to answer in life is what will we do for others?" And I opined that they've already answered the most important question in life because they're going to be doctors. That is how they're going to help others. We gave them a book, a journal, right when they got here. And then we asked each of the students to write down what their purpose in life was. And they did that, and they shared it with others, and some of them shared it out loud. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to hear. We discussed the difficult path of what we call transformation. It's an inner transformation. And it's not just about knowledge when we talk about being transformed into a physician. And we talked about some of their fears. We talked about the power of gratitude. And we gave them just a bit of advice. But we actually, this year, sought to get advice from them. We had a session on values. And instead of spending an hour and a half talking about our honor code and our conduct code, we asked the class to remember a time when they had seen someone in their family or themselves, and they'd experienced them being cared for by someone who embodied what it was to be a great caregiver. They shared it to each other in small groups, and then some of them shared those experiences with the whole class. And as they did that, we asked them to speak the attributes of the person who gave the care, either in a phrase or a short or one word, about what were the attributes of those people who had led them to say that. So that was the exercise. And then we wrote them down on a board. And I don't know if you can read that or not. I made him read a few things, but kind, discretion, ethical, curious. I love this one. Calm, but urgent when needed. That's thoughtful, because there are times when we have to move fast. There are also times where we really need to stay slow and listen. Maybe I should share this with the class. I don't know if you all got this, but we could send it to the families. But the words on this board that were recorded from this class are something we all should live up to in our daily lives. We all should ascribe to. The fact that they came up with this on their own, as I told them about that, I said, you don't have to read the conduct code. You just need to be this person that you all described. And we all aspire to be that. And I did say, as doctors, we aspire to be that in the hospital, in the clinic, and everywhere we go. We dedicated the session, and it's similar as we did in the meditation, to identifying people that helped them get to medical school. And I suspect that many of those people are here with us today, or online with us today. We had a day on well-being. We walked in Lawwater Park in the rain, some of us, to hear a poem called Lost, which was really about not being lost, but it was a beautiful poem. Students went to the Emory Museum to hone their observational skills and feed that appreciation for what is beautiful. Dr. Carla Hack, and that is her name, and she is a surgeon, is also a yoga teacher, and all the students went to a yoga session. And all of the students took a primer in compassion meditation. And we took the time to do that, you all, because medicine is hard. This transformation to being a doctor is hard. And we need to do things together to support ourselves and our classmates and others that we will work with during medicine. We had a session on the pulse, on the critical nature of the vital sign the pulse represents, and what it represents for ourselves. You've heard that before. The first thing to do when you're in a tough situation is take your own pulse. Or I'm taking the pulse of the room to see what it's like. And we got the students to say for the first time, I am an Emory medical student, and now I want to take your pulse. And those little things, those are big words. You all back me up on this, but it's a big thing, and they belong here, every one of them. They took a classmate's pulse in a symbolic act, again, of entering the profession and touching people. At the end of the orientation, our ever-caring, supporting Alumni Association gifted our students a stethoscope on a celebratory Friday afternoon ceremony. I just have one picture of that. I should send that out too. That is the Alumni Association and our students standing outside. If you could see the details, they are preening with their new stethoscopes. It's amazing what a little plastic tube with metal on the end can do for you. And we did that day. The next Monday, students took their stethoscopes and embarked on Week on the Wards. And Week on the Wards is a time where they go and they are assigned to a team in the hospital, and they go to talk to patients, listen to patients, ask them why they came to the hospital. They actually do something with a physical exam with their stethoscope or with their hands to feel an abnormality. And we tell them that before they go that Monday morning, it's the last time they're a layperson. But now when they're entering the room, they're a student doctor. That week presents an opportunity for them to become excited about their new role, become aware of their knowledge deficit, which is big, and to serve as an anchor, reminding them of why they are here and why we are here. Our curriculum, then the next week started a curriculum. It begins with a healthy human section of our foundations phase. And the students have now completed the better part of the first portion of the Healthy Human. They've taken a course entitled Cells to Humans, another one, Neuroendocrine Function, and another one, Integrated Human Physiology, Nutrition, and Metabolism. And I think we just had a test yesterday. And then, in addition to those students starting that, they've started community learning and social medicine courses and the Essentials of Patient Care course, where they're doing those age-old things that people do with patients. They take a history, and they poke, and they prod, and they listen very careful with their stethoscope. They've been doing all of that in the last weeks. They've already been asked to digest a couple of thousand PowerPoint slides filled with foot-long words, Greek and Latin. And I'm going to show a few of these, and you all glance at them, so at least your heart won't beat too fast. But I'm just going to give you a couple of representative slides to think about. So this slide, and you may not have seen it yet, it may come in neuroscience later, but you know what the amazing thing about this slide is? It's clearly something on a cell membrane, right? Those of us who know cells. There's only one word, two words on this. One is side and the other is complex. And the rest of it is all in Greek alphabet. And they're asked to learn these sorts of things. They're at least exposed to them. Two more slides. Yeah, sorry. This is Dr. Pallas's famous slide about all the metabolic pathways on one slide, but there's so much information there you can't actually see any of it. It's just put there to torture you. And then just in the bottom left corner down there, there's this slide. And that's just the metabolic pathways and how they're interconnected. And you all, that's just one slide out of thousands. There's an infinite amount to learn. They're trying very hard to understand what they need to learn, but it's really hard. The cognitive part of medicine in 2021 is that we have an infinite amount of material available. And we have to be very careful about not falling into the pit of trying to know everything. For those of you who think they haven't had enough time with their loved ones since they came to Emory Medical School, this is one of the reasons. And I just want to let you know, they love you, and they would like to talk more, and they are very busy. And the other thing is, it's only going to get more intense over the next 50 years. We have practicing physicians in the room. The things we continue to try to learn are enormous, and the interest we have in humans to learn that is compelling. Now, as the pace and the stress increase, I ask each of us to ask two questions. Am I maintaining a healthy body, mind, and spirit? And why am I in medical school, just like we started out? We have to deliberately work on our health. And I think the mantra I like to give students is try to wake up every day and say, I am here so that I can help other people. It is a really, really wonderful positive force. Let's not underestimate the difficulty of this transformation, the weight of responsibility that every good person feels when they agree to put on a white coat and go in a patient's room with them and their family to try to help them. Likewise, let us all accept the love and kindness offered us from those here with us today, in person and online, our small group advisors, our deans, those in our university offices of religious life, counseling, student health, 3,000 plus faculty, and our amazing staff, among others. We will literally and figuratively walk with you as you begin this lifelong path. And I urge everyone here in this class to walk this path together. It is impossible to walk it alone and thrive. We will be much more likely to tell you to slow down rather than to speed up. We will try not to allow you to go faster than you should, and we will be there for you when you stumble. We all stumble. Our sincerest hope is that your patient stories and lives and your ability to help them becomes a compelling force in your life. Their stories and kindness to you, extraordinary gifts as you lead a life dedicated to service, learning, and research. Simultaneously, with the help of the people here in this room and online and others, you need to learn to successfully care for yourselves and your families and your teachers as you become humane, competent physicians. To summarize the experience of medical school, and I ruined this a little bit too with my going forward too fast, I showed the students this picture. And that's the happy face picture. It sort of represents what medical school is a little bit like. And the students saw this earlier, and now they're starting to get that downward slope. Am I right? I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but the winter of your first year is often a very hard time. So is the winter of your second year because of the boards. That's a little blip up there in the M2 year. But it gets progressively and progressively better because we are being with patients and helping them. I have a follow-up slide that I came up with, and that's a representation of the day-to-day life of a medical student. Now, those of you who are physicians know that this requires immediate intervention. But I recommend that we use a healthy dose of understanding and love for our students who are experiencing this. Not that any of you would feel this way. We're here today to pause and reflect as a class and a community on your entry into this noble profession. As I've told the class in the past, the best physicians take time to pause and reflect and journal. I ask the loved ones here to help us by reminding our students that slowing down and reflection are a necessary and healthy part of being a human and a physician. We all need to be reminded that there are basic human needs that need to be attended to: sleep, exercise, a healthy diet, in-person human interactions, and creative endeavors. So I grant all of us, students toward each other and our loved ones, to gently and kindly nag each other to maintain our health. We've involved you, families, and others very intentionally today. Let us be ever mindful of the important and essential role of our families, loved ones, and colleagues in this transformation to become a physician. The relationships represented in this room are vital relationships, but especially important for caregivers. Family and friends, your ongoing care and understanding is the greatest gift these students have received and will receive. The class of 2028, your kindness toward and care for each other is equally important. As the students put on their white coats today, symbolically they assume the mantle of a professional. I would also like us collectively to offer that white coat as that cloak of love and support. We are overjoyed that you, our wonderful, diverse, kind, and talented students, have chosen to become physicians at Emory, and that you all have joined us on this important day of your lives. Thank you very much. And now for the main event. Dr. Stacy Higgins, Associate Dean, Internist, and Master of the American College of Physicians, will now come forward and allow us to don these students' white coats.
Thank you, Bill. I just want to add my welcome to the class of 2028, and we're going to ask that you guys start lining up. And to friends and family who are here to celebrate with us, We are about to start the white coat donning. I am going to ask, there's a lot of students, as you heard. This is our largest class ever. I know every single one of you want to applaud for every single student as they get their white coat on. But we will be here until 5 o'clock if that happens. So please hold your applause, and we can applaud at the end of the white coat ceremony. Thanks. We will begin. We will start with the Harvey Society. Oh, I apologize. We will start with the Crumpler Society. Calvin Abdallah. Jaden Baker. Neil Bettina. Josephine Bouclé. Antonia de Oliveira. Gunnar Cole Dixon. Faith Fountain. Ethan George. Megan Gillette. Eduardo Gonzalez Santiago. Tasfia Hussein. Ume Jalotra. Lily Kamat. Reshma Kodimerla. Joshua Yao Lee. Matthew Menkart. John Meshramkar. Victoria Munji. Sarah Montembo. Noor Mora. Bin Nguyen. Ria Nayar. Caitlin Nygren. Apalua Olusi. Ahana Oyensu. Ritika Pandey. Rachna Prasad. Margarita Rampakini. Cody Ann Reed. Sofia Sarmiento. Carrie Spain Jimenez. Jordan Sternthal. Daniel Tran. Kenneth Trang. Kimberly Tufton. Arvin Venkataraman. Sophie Vo. Ariel Wallenstein. Stephen Yang. We now ask for faculty from the Home Society to come up. Nina Badikar. Isabel Blanchard. Amshumanth Chakragiri. Carson Krushicki. Anne Trainer Crowley. Callista Dentis. Allison Dickstein. Connor Goldman. Charles Hammer. Brianna Howe. Adam Cashlin. Baha Kazi. Cholwoo Kim. Emma Kitchens. Alexander Nicholas Kabosiak. Daniel John Leach. Leah Lee. Colby Lewis. Curtis Lynn. Jessica Moscant. Marin McCoy. Varun Moser. Evan Moston. Laura Pencha. Margaret Pinder. Juliana Richards. Cecilia Rose. Michelle Scaglione. Martha Sheets. Madeline Singer. Nora Singh. Grace Tate. Rachel Tobani. Vienna Wang. Thomas Watson. Kai Wilczewski Shirai. Brian Zoe. We now ask our society advisors from the Klein Society to come up. Helen Abadiotakis. Sena Anda'a. Maria Baez. Anna Bagley. Kasum Basnet. Sahil Bhatt. Thomas Binder. Cameron Bourne. Lauren Alyssa Cagle. Isha Dewan. Margaret DiRuggiero. Kate Eisenbraun. Francesca Esposito. Sylvie Gittler. Emily Grau. Sampara Iyengar. Nidhi Kanchumarti. Ryan Can. Rami Cashlin. Benjamin King. Ella Leaf. Darren Elisa Levine. Sydney Martin. Vias Muralidiran. Nina Murthy. Parker Nowell. Jake Rubin. Masan Agdem. Anna Savin. Nicole Saman. Nana Nyao Kusi Badum Serabo. Caroline Smith. Jensen Surpri. Tomer Turkaspa. Mathis Vaughn. Olivia Vizzini. Sophie Walmer. Taylor Lois Yarbrough. We now ask the faculty from the Rodriguez Trias Society to come up. Okay. Joseph Abergel. Andrea Abi Karam. Faris Abu Ghosh. Stephen Yao Ajapal. Farida Omawanuola Badmes. Nicole Alicia Banks. Ishan Chilikatil. Nabojit Kumar Das. Alicia Edwards. Lydia Fletcher. Andrew Harmez. Logan Helms. Simon Jang. Sophie Jordan. Asta Casey. Zachary Lacus. Elizabeth Lampros. Grace Soan Lee. Tina Liu. Saad Man. Alejandro McDonald. Catherine Miller. Isabel Munoz. Maximilian Nguyen. Sarah Kate Payton. Stephanie Pavlov. Supreet Randhawa. Anna Stone. Shubha Verma. Tara Wagner. Tyler Elizabeth Williams. Cameron Woods. Lingwan Wu. Lennox Xu. Juliana Ziepfat. Kuo Zhang.
If you or anyone in your family has ever tried to organize an event even 1/10 as large as this, a wedding or what have you. You know this doesn't just happen. And this has been an event in the planning and replanning and re-replanning for many months. And I want to acknowledge from this podium the really quite extraordinary people whom Dr. Ward and I and the rest of the faculty are privileged to work with. Faith Levy, who's sort of the captain of this show, Cheryl Cottle, Megan Ray, June Eddingfield, who's not with us today, and the most amazing Mona Ingram, the wedding organizer to the stars. Can we thank them, please, for today? Thank you. Bill, you used the verb preening. I can see some. For those of you who can't be back or up there, I see a little preening in new white coats. They'll never be this clean again. Just want to let you know. We are almost over the ceremony here, but before we end, and I think most amazingly, I'm okay on time. I've been asked to say a few final comments to you, the class of 2028. The rest of you can listen if you want to. But what I say is addressed to you. When we first met in person, IRL, in real life, it was a very warm July morning back there in the medical school. You will remember that it was only 13 weeks ago. It may seem like a long time or a short time, but it was less than 3 months ago. And think of all the people you've met. By my calculation last night, by the way, you have 174 weeks to go before any of you are eligible to graduate. So to echo Dr. Eley's suggestion, slow down. You can't do it any faster. During that first week when we all came together, you met so many of us. You met me, Dr. Ward, Dr. Hairston, Dr. Eley, Dr. Churchward, Dr. Ledoux, Dr. Schulman, I had to remind myself, Dr. Churchward, who's here today. Among the many things we tried to tell you was how we think you got here. Dr. Ward and I tried to be very transparent with our colleagues on the admissions committee about telling enrolling students who we were looking for last year, especially difficult in this time of Zoom land meetings, but who we were trying to figure out would be the right people for us here at Emory Medical School. I will disclose to your friends and family that the people sitting here with their first white coats, 150, the largest class in our history, they are the distillation of, this is a real number, over 12,800 applications we received last year. They haven't done anything yet, just want to let you know. Dr. Ward, Dr. Malik, and our colleagues on the admissions committee who are here, it hasn't gotten any slower for next summer, by the way. But I won't bore you with that. What we did was tell you about some of the personal attributes that Dr. Eley has already elaborated. Who we were looking for amidst all those numbers and words and papers and letters of recommendation and interviews, those awkward Zoomland interviews that you and we had to try to figure out. But it's very clear that the admissions committee were looking for certain kinds of people. We asked you to take your pulse. We asked you to reorient yourself to person, place, and time. But we also suggested that you were a group of people who had personal attributes that would both serve you well, we hope, both in medicine and in life. We were looking for people who, as Dr. Eley is wont to say, are naturally kind. People who are compassionate. People have maturity, or you can act like an adult when you need to. People who are reasonably intelligent. You don't need to be a genius to be a great doctor. You need to be smarter than average. And all of you are. That's a true statement. Among the most important characterologic attributes was curiosity. Intellectual curiosity. That's an impossible thing to teach. We try to cultivate it on a regular basis. But we think you are a particularly curious group of people, and your small group advisors tell us at the moment that the admissions committee did a pretty good job. Curiosity. Curiosity about your new profession. Curiosity about science, about your family, about your patients. Curiosity about yourself. It is this natural curiosity that will serve you well in your medical education now and in the next 50 plus years, will serve your patients well, and will continue to let you be lifelong learners, which we talk about all the time, and it's very real. Lifelong learning. It is this trait which we think we found in most of you, that, and I can say this with families sitting here, that make you as children usually very irritating kids. You are always asking questions. So I am sure you have been sitting here asking a natural, curious question in your new white coats. And that question is, why white coats? What is it about these white coats? What is it about this getup that we are asking you to take an entire day away from your studies, have asked friends and family and loved ones and partners and hangers-on to take time out of their busy schedule to come here at some inconvenience and not in considerable expense, and let us say sadly, but these days, sometimes at personal risk, and be with you, be with us today to celebrate what is, after all, a flimsy cotton garment, or in your case, a cotton polyester blend. After all, you know there are other individuals in our society who wear white coats every day. This gentleman you saw before, yeah, he goes to work every day, puts on a white coat. I don't think his employer ever asked him to participate in a white coat ceremony. And yes, these folks wear thick, really expensive white coats and very cool toques, caps, which you don't get to wear, by the way. And they may have graduated from a culinary institute, but there's no white coat ceremony. There are some individuals in the world, and you've seen them, who are forced to wear a white coat every day of their life. It always gets a, we will never know, but we don't think they do a white coat ceremony for their kids. You also know, you've done enough history to know that doctors didn't always wear white coats. In a few minutes, we'll leave here, and you'll have an opportunity to take your family and friends to the Woodruff Health Sciences Administration Building, where in the mezzanine there are images, mostly imaginary, of what doctors of yore might have looked like. This is a representation of old Dr. Hippocrates. Hippocrates and his followers lived 2,400 years ago on the island of Kos, which is now off the coast of modern-day Turkey in the Aegean. And in a few minutes, Dr. Eley will come back here and ask us all to say, or at least some of us out loud, to say words that are attributed to he and his followers several millennia ago, which still have meaning for us amazingly today. He and his followers did not wear white coats, and no toga parties in medical school, you guys, okay? Let's skip over 1,000 years from them. We're looking at 1632. The city is in Amsterdam, the Low Countries, the Netherlands, and here the remarkable Rembrandt. When he was 26 years old, he painted this portrait of Dr. Nicholas Tulp giving an anatomy lesson to colleagues and students. Lots of cute white collars, no white coats. Dr. Tulp is seen doing a dissection of the left forearm of an unfortunate man who was hung in the gallows. That's the way they did it in those days. Dr. Tulp actually in history was an extraordinary guy. He was at this time the, we might call it president of the Surgeons Guild of the Netherlands, but he was quite renowned throughout Northern Europe. And it is written that he was, in addition to his anatomy and surgical skills, he was a very kind and compassionate doctor, so much so that the citizens of Amsterdam elected him Burgermeister, mayor of Amsterdam, 4 times. It's remarkable. Don't go into politics, okay? And don't talk about politics today, whatever you do. But he was a remarkable guy. We're going to come to this side of the Atlantic, and this is in the 1860s, the time of our Civil War in this part of North America. We see a doctor examining one of his patients in his office. There were few hospitals back then, but by the middle of the 19th century, doctors who could afford it wore nice business clothes, but certainly no white clothes, white coats. 1875, this is another extraordinary painting done by the very talented Thomas Eakins of Philadelphia. The artist was 31 when he painted this. This is Dr. Samuel Gross. Dr. Gross was 70 in this picture, and it was painted from life. He was a surgeon in Philadelphia, and here he's seen in an operating room with medical students. It doesn't project so well here, in an amphitheater in back of him. Dr. Gross was, without question, the most famous surgeon in North America. At the time, he had written several textbooks, translated into multiple languages, and people would come from everywhere to go to Philadelphia to have Dr. Gross do surgery on them. In this painting, Eakins is showing Dr. Gross doing an operation on a 14-year-old boy with a serious lower leg bone infection, tibial osteomyelitis. And then, as now, sometimes it requires a surgeon to get rid of the bacteria in the bone, or else people are crippled, or lose the leg, or get septic and die. Hard to see from my angle, but on the lower left of the picture, you see a figure crouched on the floor, a woman with her head averted, and that's meant to be this patient, the boy's mother, scared, knowing that her son, who had a serious infection, being treated by the most famous doctor in America, still had every possibility of losing his leg or dying. No white coats in this picture anywhere. 14 years later, same city, Philadelphia, same artist, Thomas Eakins, a different surgeon. This is Dr. David Hayes Agnew, who sort of took over the mantle of best surgeon in the Northeast from Dr. Gross. He is seen here in the same place doing a mastectomy on an unfortunate woman. But for the first time, we see white clothing. We see white coats. on the medical personnel, the beginning of antisepsis. What changed in those 14 years, 1875 to 1889? And what changed was science. As the icons of science became the heroes of the day. Louis Pasteur on your left, a French, not a physician, but a microbiologist and brilliant medical scientist. And on the right, Robert Koch in Germany, who discovered so much, including the bacillus that causes tuberculosis, and would get one of the first Nobel Prizes in the turn of the 20th century. But they were beginning to publish their findings, and the public went wild for science. And very soon, we doctors recognized that, one, we could not practice medicine without understanding science. And it was microbiology, pathology, physiology, the sciences that you, in fact, are learning right now, which informed medicine back then and continues even more importantly to inform medicine. So we doctors stole the lab coats of the scientists and made them our own. And within a few decades, these white coats became symbols not of basic scientists, but of clinicians. So you see a picture here, and it's immediately recognizable as a group of doctors. Why? Because they're all wearing white coats. This, in fact, is the 1954 Department of Pediatrics at Emory School of Medicine. That's all there was, that's all there were in 1954. By the way, now there are close to 500 faculty in your Department of Pediatrics. But we look at the white coats and say, that's a group of doctors. And so in the late 20th century, we see a picture like this, and we see a middle-aged man gazing at the camera for a portrait, and we immediately recognize him as a doctor because he's wearing a white coat. Many of you in the audience don't recognize him for who he was. This is Dr. Hamilton Holmes. Dr. Holmes was the first African-American man to graduate from Emory School of Medicine. He subsequently became an orthopedic surgeon. He subsequently became chief of orthopedics at Grady and was a clinical dean at Grady here in this medical school. Sadly, he died prematurely at age 54 of heart disease. But just as one of your societies is named after him, and there are buildings here on campus named after Dr. Hamilton Holmes, we remember him, and you should know him as the first African-American man to graduate here. Now, the first African-American woman to be admitted to Emory School of Medicine is Dr. Marshallyn Jurgen Alsop, and she is here with us today, sitting in the front row. Indeed, Dr. Jurgen Alsop graduated from here. She trained in pediatrics, subsequently in developmental pediatrics and preventive medicine. She graduated here in 72, Marshallyn, I think. She has had and continues to have an extraordinarily distinguished career with multiple leadership positions at the Centers for Disease Control up Clifton Road. Her epidemiologic and clinical research has informed clinical practice and has helped set national guidelines for kids with autism and developmental disabilities. Marshallyn, you honor us by your presence here today, and thank you so much for all you've done, both for American kids and here for medical students at your medical school. Thank you so much for being here. It's the only picture I could find of you. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, is that change happens. Science changes, society changes, medicine changes. This School of Medicine changes. It's inevitable. It's the way of the world. Some of us may feel it's too bad that there's too much change happening too soon, and yet some of us may want change, more change to happen faster. But whatever it is when it comes to medicine, science, and medical education, it is inevitable. The communities change, the schools change. We doctors are agents of change, whether you embrace it or not. Look at these pictures and then look at you. Look at this class of 2028. Dr. Eley used the word diversity a lot a few minutes ago. I would suggest to you that this is who we are. Diversity, it's who we are as a school and as a profession. I would remind those of you who are starting medical school here and moved perhaps from far away that you are in a city that once was racially and otherwise segregated, and you are hopefully proud students in a now extraordinary university and school of medicine that not so long ago was segregated, and in some of our lifetimes, many of us would not be able to study or get jobs here. Change, ladies and gentlemen, it really does happen. So, as we end, let me suggest to you what these new white coats that you should wear with pride should represent. Historically, it's science, scientific accuracy, safety, innocence, to keep the innocence, if you will, of your patients, cleanliness, of course, hopefulness, honesty, compassion. And these coats which you now wear with your names on them, make no mistake, gives you power. As Dr. Eley suggested that week on the wards, you asked questions of strangers and touched them in ways that this coat symbolically allows you and nobody else in society to do. How will you use that power? But as we leave here, it would be wrong for us not to be transparent and remind you that there are those in society, not just historically, but sadly still now, who use these coats for other reasons. There are so-called doctors who are quacks and charlatans. There are people who use these white coats as barriers for themselves, for emotions, for honesty. It allows people to be authoritarian at times and occasionally arrogant, and there's no room for that in 21st century medicine, certainly not here. This was a graduating picture of a graduating class not so long ago, just a few days before they graduated. And these are their old white coats, which you can't see, were not so clean right then. And so we ask you on behalf of your small group advisors, as you get these and think about graduating 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now, how will you be wearing these coats? How will you use the power that they truly offer to the right people to use? How will you comport yourself in school, in clinics, in hospitals, and out there? How will you own this new identity? On behalf of your small group advisors and your faculty and staff, we hope you use it well. We hope you wear these well. On behalf of all of us, we congratulate you and wish you the best. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank goodness there are no more slides. We are at the end of our program. And a couple of things to note before we go. If you saw that poem that we have inside the program today, it's called Gaudium Sigitur, which is Therefore Let Us Rejoice. It was written, that's just part of it. It was written by the person who was the admissions dean before I was, so I was, and then John Stone, who was a tremendous academic physician who spent his career here at Emory and was a poet and a writer. And, you know, I told the class this, but any of you who enjoy medicine as a career, if you haven't read Gaudium Sigitur, read it. It's posted permanently on NPR's website and others. The JAMA just had a 40th anniversary article about it, and it truly is a wonderful statement of what it is to be a doctor. Another thing I'd like to say before we go is, again, I'd like to echo Ira's thanks to everybody who put this on. These people who are sitting in the front 2 rows over here, these society advisors, give a lot of their time to be with our students and help them along the way. You will see them again at graduation. They get to be with these students for an entire 4 years. And I will just say they're the best we have to offer. So thank you all for being here today. And now I want the class of 2028 to stand, and inside on the back of your program, we have printed the Oath of Hippocrates, and it's a modified Oath of Hippocrates. Do you all have them? Boy, you know what we're going to do? Well, yeah, we'll I can say it, and you all can repeat it. How about that? I would also ask any other physicians in the crowd to please stand up if you would like to, and you can speak with us. So I'm going to say a line, and then you're going to say a line. Got it? I'll pause, and then you speak. All right, you all. It'll be okay. It's okay. We can do this. All right, here we go. As the ancient Greeks swore by their pagan gods, so do I solemnly affirm that as a student in medicine at Emory University, according to my ability and judgment, I will keep this oath and stipulation. I will consider dear to me those who have taught me this art. And will impart the precepts and instruction of the profession to all those who qualify as students of the art and agree to the standards of the profession. I will follow that system of regimen which according to my ability and judgment I consider for the benefit of my patients and abstain from whatever is deleterious and mischievous. Into whatever house I enter, I will go into it for the benefit of the sick. And will abstain from every voluntary act of mischief and corruption. Whatever in connection with my professional practice, or not in connection with it, I see or hear in the lives of men and women which ought not to be spoken of abroad. I will not divulge as reckoning that all such should be kept secret. while I continue to keep this oath inviolate, may it be granted to me to enjoy life and the practice of the art. Respected by all people in all times. But should I trespass and violate this oath, may the reverse be my lot. Thank you. And I'd like to say, those are very old, antiquated words, and they have been, that oath has been changed, but we looked at this. This is ritual. And there are reasons we put on white coats. There are reasons we say this oath. And while they can be misconstrued, they all point us in the direction of being ethical and kind and compassionate to those we serve. Now, the official white coats are done. Our words are done. Now we're going to do a fairly complex exit strategy. The families have to stay and sit down. You can stand up and take a picture, but you can't leave till all the students have left the building, because they're going to go outside the building and have their picture taken, and if families start to go, they'll start talking to each other, and it won't work. We've done this before. So we're going to let all the students now exit. Kristen Harrison is going to lead them out. And please, all the other guests, please stay in your seats and walk briskly with feeling.